An important programming note to pass along: the TV provider YouTube TV and our affiliate network ABC are in a contract dispute. That's why ABC programming is off YouTube TV. It'll be that way until a deal is reached, which includes all ABC programming. KSAT 12 is an affiliate of ABC and does not have any say in that matter. All of our newscasts continue to be streamed on the KSAT Plus app and on your smart TV or mobile devices. If you watch KSAT 12 on something other than YouTube TV, you are not affected. This also does not affect any clips or shows from KSAT 12 that you may watch on YouTube. As negotiations continue, we will continue to keep you informed. Now, while Muertos Fest is in the rearview mirror, plenty of people are still celebrating Dia de los Muertos down at the Pearl. The Pearl was filled with ofrendas, art pieces, and performances celebrating life, as well as honoring our lost loved ones. We spoke with one of the artists behind some of those altars who said each piece had a story and a purpose.
Oh, the Virgin's made out of wine bottles, mesquite. Everything's reclaimed, and this is my brother, Joe Quintanilla. This is the boat. We call it the boat. And this floated at Woolon Lake. So I made this one for my little brother too.
All those ofrendas are so beautiful and have so much meaning. Dia de los Muertos celebrations at the Pearl will continue tomorrow from 5 to 9 p.m. There will be music, dance, and of course, plenty of those beautiful altars. Nice day to be outside enjoying the festivities and the culture today with the breezy winds.
Yes.
Cloud covered throughout pretty much the entire day.
And most of the rain, it seemed like, missed out on the Pearl for the ofrendas, but also we saw some much needed rain. We're still in that drought, but it was very scattered compared to what we've seen the last few days and the last few times we've seen rain. So here's a look at the rainfall totals over the last 24 hours. Most of us along basically 281 or even I-10 and just to the east saw some much needed rain. Other areas like Medina County and even Bandera County pretty much missed out, and that's really not necessarily the best considering they're still in that exceptional drought. But what I have here turned on are those little circles. That's where we saw the hail reports earlier today. It was mostly near Garden Ridge, Schertz, and even towards areas of Seguin. But that's also where we saw some much needed rain. On the south side, we saw anywhere from about a few hundredths of an inch of rain to even a few quarters of an inch to even closer to over an inch on the southern end of Atascosa County. On the northern end, well, we did see similar rainfall totals anywhere between just over a quarter of an inch to over an inch. But the good news is all the rain that was on the north side, that's in the contributing zone and the recharge zone for the aquifer. So as I zoom in areas of Garden Ridge where they did have some hail reported, they also saw an inch of rain. So we do expect the aquifer starting tomorrow to hopefully reflect some of that. But before any of the rain really actually fell, the aquifer was already up over half a foot today. We're still below our monthly average, but there is some good news and there is some hope. And the reason we saw some of these rain showers and these thunderstorms that did produce some hail was because of a weak cool front moving through. Now I say cool front because it didn't necessarily provide those drastic change in the temperatures, much like what we saw earlier in the week. But for us, it's also really going to have that chance and really the effect of those cooler temperatures. And throughout the next hour or so, any of the showers we're currently seeing, which really are next to none. Most of them are already to the south of us. That's going to continue to push to the south, mostly having an impact near the coastal plains. But by tomorrow morning, the cloud coverage will really move to the south, leaving us with a gorgeous sunny day for us in your Sunday afternoon here in the Alamo City. You're waking up temperatures tomorrow morning sitting in the mid to upper 40s for some, already near 60 degrees by lunchtime and even near 70 degrees by lunchtime for most of us. Peak temperature at about 73 degrees. Still seeing those sunnier skies persist throughout most of the day. And temperatures tomorrow, I want to focus on. Yes, we saw that cool front moving through, and yes, our temperatures will still be in the 70s in the afternoon, similar to what we've been seeing. But what I want to show you is, yes, some of the temperatures will still be on the cooler side, but in San Antonio, we'll still be in the upper 40s, low 50s. But as you go into portions of the hill country, they'll be in the low 40s because there's this thing called radiational cooling. And when you get that cloud coverage and really the time where you see the less cloud coverage, it really allows the skies to really cool down. So portions of the hill country, they aren't going to see the cloud coverage as much as the southern portion of south central Texas is as you go throughout the next few hours, especially as you're waking up in the mornings. 49 degrees tomorrow for San Antonio, 50s as you're waking up the next few mornings for the next week or so, as the 80s creep back into the forecast on Wednesday.
40s and 50s in the hill country.
Yes.
I'd love to see that. Go outside, drink a coffee, enjoy the weather, the breeze.
Oh, it'll be gorgeous.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for that, Shelby. College football's here, and Texas is giving their fans a roller coaster of a season. But now I think everyone's saying Texas is back. Whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. But that is the word on the street.
I can't believe how they've turned their season around. It really felt like maybe this would be an off year for them, but they're 7-2 after their latest victory over Vanderbilt. We'll hear what Arch Manning and Steve Sarkisian had to say after the big win. And BGC Week 10, the highlights as area teams make their final push for the playoffs. That's coming up right after the break. Coming up, but first, Texas hosting Vanderbilt. Arch Manning is hyped, looking to build on last week's comeback win against Mississippi State. Late first quarter, Texas up 10-0 when Manning rolls out and finds C.J. Baxter for the 6-yard touchdown. The Longhorns clicking early, and they're up 17-0. Fast forward to the third quarter now. Manning faced a ton of pressure today, but still able to get it to Emmett Mosley, the fifth for the score. That was Manning's third TD pass of the day for the 31-10 lead. Now number 9 Vanderbilt desperate, staging a comeback. Diego Pavia connects with Junior Sherrill on 4th and 19. Wow. Later in the drive, Pavia hits Richie Hoskins for the touchdown. And just like that, Vandy trails by just 3 points. But the Commodores still needed a miracle onside kick. And it was a good effort, but luck wasn't on Vandy's side as Texas hangs on to win 34-31. What a turnaround this season by Texas. 7-2 now. And Manning with his best performance of the season. He finished with 328 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
I do think he's grown up. I mean, he just looks so much more mature. You know, he looks so much more poised. He looks so much more confident, and he's got a lot more trust in those guys around him. I think that continuity of playing with them more and more and more, just his ability to manage the game and change protections and work the shot clock and take the shots when they're there and check the ball down when the check downs were there.
Maybe the concussion helped. I think it starts with the O-line. They played really well today. Receivers made plays, and, you know, that makes it a little bit easier on me. I think just playing games and experience, having some bad games, and I think offense is starting to click a little bit. We got to continue to press and finish games, but I'm proud of the way we played today.
All right, Arch has jokes. Now 13th ranked Texas Tech visiting Kansas State. Early second half, Baron Morton hands it off to Jacoby Williams, and he gets through the Wildcat defense and brings it 41 yards for the score. Now it's 19-7 Texas Tech with 5 minutes left in the fourth. Wildcats in their own territory. Johnson scrambles but is brought down and fumbles. John Curry scoops it up and scores. That's the exclamation point. Tech wins 43-20. All right, now to the FCS. The struggling UIW Cardinals hosting Southland Conference leading Lamar. E.J. Colson airs out a pass to Josh Lorick. It's a 41-yard TD reception for Lorick as the word goes up big. And UIW was able to hold off Lamar in the second half for UIW's first conference win of the season. 24-17 the final. More scores in the FCS. UTRGV falling big today by Stephen F. Austin, 41-17. And in Division III, Telu dominates McMurray 42-13. And 22nd ranked Trinity improves to 7-1 with a big 32-3 win. Week 10 of the high school football season wrapping up today. Madison at Lee this afternoon. Mavericks wideout Jordan Clay headed to play football at Baylor next season, and he's looking right now to help Madison sneak into the playoffs. First quarter, handoff goes to DeCorian McMillan, and the junior running back darts into the end zone. Mavs up 7-0. Late in the first, deep pass for Clay, and Clay gets up and makes the TD catch. The four-star wideout is a tough assignment for defenses. Madison rolls to a 37-7 victory. At the Gus, O'Connor up 31-0 when KSAT 12 photographer Jared Luna arrived. The stands absolutely packed for this one as O'Connor tries to hang on to fourth place in District 28 6A. Panthers knocking on the door. Cash Manis tussles his way to pay dirt. Meanwhile, the Panther defense suffocating Stevens. Ethan Soto pounces on Stevens as O'Connor gets the win 38-6. You'll see that big time hit right there. All right, coming up, the Spurs aim for 6-0 in Phoenix, and how SAFC's opening round playoff match went in New Mexico. We'll also be talking World Series. JP, do you have a World Series score update?
I was going to say, you've been working really hard, and I know you've been trying to keep up with the World Series. The Dodgers have a one-run lead in extra innings after a Will Smith home run.
That's incredible. All right, well, we'll have the highlights if the game is over. I intended to show them earlier in the show, but extra innings, what a Game 7 in the World Series. We'll have an update coming up.
Thanks for that, Barry.
Yes.
The telltale signs of the fall season usually include the arrival of the Monarch butterflies, but a lot of us haven't really seen them yet. Our Pachana Pope went to find out why. That's still ahead on the Nightbeat. It seems with each passing year, we see another round of local restaurant owners deciding to shut the doors. Coming up on the Nightbeat, our team went to investigate what is closing restaurants. Welcome back. We got a look at a high-tech tool that could help stop school shootings. These drones will be landing on several Hill Country campuses within the next few months. KSAT Investigates' Daniela Ibarra explains how they work and why Bernie ISD believes it'll save lives.
So 30 years ago, if you heard that a drone could be on campus to help stop a potential active shooter, what would you think?
Unimaginable.
In the next few months, this will become reality.
I was, I've grown so much to appreciate the concept now, but my initial reaction was, no, this doesn't make any sense.
Rick Goodrich is Bernie ISD's Chief of Safety and Security. His job is to keep students safe.
And I see myself as a dad to all of them, and I really look at all these children as if they're my own.
It's why he spent the last year working to bring Campus Guardian Angel to the district. The drones aren't in place yet, so we headed to the startup's headquarters in Austin to see them in action.
This concept seems like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
You know, I think a lot of people, when we first talked about this, the first response is, yes, it sounds like a sci-fi movie, Black Mirror, whatever. But when you actually see it demonstrated, it comes back to what are the goals?
The company's goal is for these drones to confront a school shooter within 15 seconds. The sirens, pepper balls, and direct strikes are meant to distract the threat, buying law enforcement time.
These drones aren't lethal.
Right, I mean, I'm gonna hit you at 60, 70 miles an hour. It's not gonna kill you. It's like getting hit by a baseball bat.
I am armed and ready. 3, go.
When deployed, a team of highly skilled pilots use virtual reality and real-time cameras to navigate.
So drones in Bernie are operated out of the center in Austin.
That's right. So from Austin, we can fly drones at any school in the nation in 5 seconds.
Where do you get an idea like this?
So the inspiration came originally from just looking how incredibly effective small drones were against people with guns in Ukraine.
3 years ago, a gunman killed 21 people at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. Co-founder Justin Marston believes this would have saved lives.
We feel very good that had we been there, we would have been able to confront that person in the parking lot, and the shooter would never have made it into the building.
But you hope you never actually have to use this program.
I pray we never do.
It's why the district's chief student support officer says they are prioritizing caring for students.
So when we hear that there's a need, whether it be an acute, urgent, or crisis level need, we're ready to respond.
And if it comes to the worst, they'll be ready to respond. Daniela Ibarra, KSAT investigates.
An estimated 100,000 people are expected to visit the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Little Flower over the next 5 days. They're all coming to see the sacred relics of St. Teresa Lisieux that are on display. She is known worldwide as the Little Flower, and this marks the first time since 1999 that her relics are here in San Antonio. Earlier this evening, Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Cier led a mass and procession through the shrine. The relics of St. Teresa will be on public display for veneration and prayer through next Tuesday. It seems with each passing year, we see another round of local restaurant owners deciding to shut their doors. So what's the reason behind the closures? KSAT's Madeline Lambert reports.
This year alone, we've seen many local and chain restaurants announce closures. Their reasonings range from changes to infrastructure to relocation. Local chef Jason Dady closed his restaurant Jardine at the San Antonio Botanical Garden this summer.
I've certainly had restaurants that have closed because maybe they weren't very good, or it was bad location, or maybe the profit margins weren't there.
Good Time Charlie's, for example, officially closed its doors after serving the community for more than 45 years. The owner says the land was sold to the museum next door. But one of the co-founders says that sale had nothing to do with the decision they made to close.
I think it's really unfair for people to point fingers and say, oh, you know, I went there and it was terrible, that's why they're out of business. You have no idea why or how they went out of business. You just have no idea.
The Texas Restaurant Association says right now is a tough time for their industry.
At the same time, Texas families are feeling a lot of financial pressure, and so they have fewer dollars to spend dining out.
Restaurants we said goodbye to this year include Bandit Barbecue and Burgers, Cariki at the Pearl, Casa Cabell Mexican Patio, Dry Dock Oyster Bar, and many more.
We just came out of what I believe to be the slowest summer I've seen in probably 20 years. So everybody's hurting. You're not alone. Everybody's restaurants are slower than they were last year.
Chef Dady describes genuine hospitality as the key to keep his restaurants running.
Right, that's why it takes that team mentality of understanding about hospitality, being genuine to who you are, and building that culture is what makes great restaurants. It's the culture within the walls.
Madeline Lambert, KSAT 12 News.
Where are all those butterflies? It's a question that you may be asking yourself. Monarch sightings are not uncommon this time of year, but they seem to be missing. Coming up, Chada Pope walks us through what's behind their absence. It certainly feels like autumn. The leaves are falling off trees, the temperatures are finally seasonal, and we get an extra hour of sleep tonight. But something is still missing. It's these guys, the monarch butterflies. They've been few and far in between. The quick and short answer is that monarch butterflies are just late.
The telltale signs of the fall season usually includes the arrival of the monarch butterflies. But a lot of us really haven't seen them.
So because the weather this year, there was more rain, the temperatures are weird at different times, the monarchs follow those cues of the seasons changing to cue off their migrations. And so they've just been getting the signal a little later than they would have in past years.
Kristen Winslow is the invertebrate specialist at the San Antonio Zoo and says the recent cooler temperatures have given the monarchs the nudge needed to help push them south.
So we actually have started seeing them this week. I've been seeing them at all our pollinator stations around San Antonio Zoo.
I was able to speak with Monica Maycool, founder of the Texas Butterfly Ranch, over the phone, and she also referenced the heat as a contributor to the monarchs' late arrival. Something else she mentioned, the hotter it is, the more energy the monarchs have to use to make the up to 3,000-mile journey from Canada to Mexico. In her most recent article, she says a recent study is suggesting more and more monarchs are just not making the trip south, but holding up at pollinator stations along their migration route. Winslow says the same.
We are seeing some more non-migratory populations of monarchs popping up, so they are getting into a point where they're like, hey, the weather's not super crazy to make me want to leave, and there's plenty of food and water here. So we are seeing an establishment of more permanent colonies and a little bit less migrations as well.
But Winslow says rest assured the butterflies are on their way, and we'll be seeing a lot more monarchs as the weather cools down.
That was Chada Pope reporting. Another thing Winslow says is don't expect the big swarms of monarchs. Its researchers have found that environmental changes have caused the butterflies to alter their migration habits. And taking a look at live cam, speaking of those cooler temperatures, we finally have it, Shelby.
Yes. I know a lot of people, not only in this newsroom at KSAT, but also just in Texas, are so excited for the fall temperatures and the fall conditions. I mean, just take a look at our temperatures today. We only got to 76 degrees, and this morning we were waking up in the 50s. Still closer to our average temperature, but just a week ago we were closer to our record in the 80s compared to what we should be sitting at. I mean, it is October and now November for most of us, so we want to see the fall conditions, but some saw some rain and some hail, bringing some cooler temperatures and a nice little cool down if you saw the rain earlier today. I'll take a look at the rainfall we saw earlier today, how that affects our drought, and then also take a look at the cooler temperatures we can see coming up this week, coming up after the break.
Welcome back. Your time 11:24. Thanks for staying up with this on this Saturday evening, nearly Sunday morning. We saw the cooler temperatures, but also surrounding areas got some rain. Not so much in downtown, but north of us. You also mentioned south of us.
It was basically along Highway 281 and maybe even to I-10 and just to the east. Hill country and to the west basically saw next to no rain. But I mean, we're still seeing that very small chance of some sort of showers being possible over the next few hours, but that's mostly going to be closer to the coastal plains, not necessarily having too much of an impact for us here in the Alamo City, but still something to keep in mind if you're closer to Beeville or even closer to the coastal plains. But we saw some much needed rain across most of us in south central Texas. Today we saw most of us stayed about under half an inch, but a few areas made it to just over an inch. But take a look at the rainfall totals over the last 10 days. I'm showing you this for a reason, and I'll get to that in just a second. But San Antonio at the airport reported just about an inch and a half. Closer to Del Rio, you saw areas where you saw closer to an inch and a quarter, or even a little bullseye of where you saw 4 inches, especially in areas of Hondo and closer to Medina County. Other areas to the north of Austin and College Station saw 3 inches. Closer to Houston saw 3 inches as well. But I mentioned that specifically because of our drought monitor. It's released every Thursday morning at about 8 or 9 a.m. But this week's drought monitor, we saw a major difference, especially in portions of Bexar County, Medina County, and even the northern portion of Atascosa County, especially because right now it's just in that exceptional color, that level 3 or 4, and not necessarily, or it's in that extreme category, excuse me, and not that exceptional category anymore. But not only that, as you look just to the east of San Antonio, that extreme category went all the way up to Austin, LaGrange, Hallettsville, and right now it's really just closer to Hallettsville, closer to Pleasanton. So there is still some major improvement, and that was from the rain we saw last week. Yes, today's rainfall totals weren't that much compared to last week's, but any rain is good rain, especially when it takes the aquifers into level. It talks about the drainage, the soil moisture, so it takes a lot into consideration to help the drought monitor every week. Now, that low pressure system with that weak cool front that moved through portions of South Texas today, that's moving off into the Gulf, not really having too much of an impact for us, but that cool front is going to make things a little drier as we're waking up tomorrow morning in the 40s and the 50s. Not really seeing a possibility of a stray shower as much tomorrow as what we saw today. But over the next 7 days, we're still going to be sitting in those cooler mornings at least till Tuesday, waking up in the 40s and even the 50s. What we're watching is specifically Wednesday through Saturday next week. We're watching an area of high pressure return to the forecast, giving us the morning temperatures in the 40s and the 50s, possibly even some 80s in the afternoon. But if you're staying up late tonight to watch us and you really want to get some extra sleep, well, don't worry. Daylight savings ends tonight/tomorrow at 2 a.m. So your sunrise tomorrow morning is going to be before 7 a.m. compared to today, where it was just before 8 a.m. But the bad news is the sunset is now going to be before 6 p.m. So there is some bad news, but if you stayed up late watching, let's say, football here on KSAT 12 or the World Series, if you want some extra sleep, you just have to wait a few extra hours. We'll be waking up still in the 40s and the 50s in the mornings as we fall back tomorrow with daylight savings ending, and 80s return to the forecast on Wednesday and Thursday.
At 2 a.m., we jump back, or fall back, I should say, to 1 a.m., that extra hour of sleep. I know I need it.
Oh,
sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for that, Shelby. Game 7 was going on last time we spoke to you, Mary.
It was.
You were very interested in any updates. That game has finally concluded.
It has in extra innings. The Dodgers, for the first time for any Major League Baseball team in over 2 decades, have won back-to-back World Series titles. It was a wild, wild Game 7 in Toronto. We'll show you the highlights coming up. And we're previewing tomorrow's Spurs-Suns game as San Antonio eyes 6-0, and what happened with SAFC's first-round playoff match. That's coming up after the break.